Pricing your MSP services is probably the hardest thing that you can actually do when it comes to your business, because if you do a great job, you make a lot of this. But if you do a bad job, you could lose a lot of this. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly how you need to price your services so we can put more cash in your pocket every single month. And I even include an incredible free tool in this video. My name is Harrison Barron from growth-generators.com. We help MSPs with sales training and marketing. Before I get into today's video, I do have to mention two quick things as always. Number one, there is a masterclass down below, actually specifically teaching you how to use this tool that I'm about to show you so you can go through, and it's a much more in-depth. This is a YouTube video. I try to keep them light. I try to keep them brief, but if you really want the full training on how to use this so you can make way more money, there will be a link down below. It'll be the first link down there. Number two, come hang out with us in the Discord. We are well past 300 members, and it is crazy to think that just not that long ago, it was about 200, and it is a super active and thriving group. Come hang out with us. We'd love to have you. So let's talk about MSP pricing before we get actually into the tool, because it is a really useful tool. So MSP pricing takes into a lot all around, because we have, as an MSP, a lot of moving parts. We have technicians, which is going to be labor. We have software, which is kind of a fixed cost, kind of not a fixed cost. But there's also variables. We're going on site. Sometimes there might be traffic, there's a lot of liabilities, there's taxes that get involved, and depending on what kind of MSP you actually run, there's more and more softwares and subscriptions that you have to worry about. And whether or not you use them, it's still going to cost you cash every single month. But how do you actually come up with the equation that puts money in your pocket and removes that fear of, am I as profitable as I should be, or am I making as much money as I possibly can? Well, this is a really hard thing to think about, because when you think about it, right, you take all of your expenses, you take your RMM, your PSA, your CRM, maybe your cybersecurity stuff, your AV, your backup, your Office 365 or Google Workspace subscription, and you kind of stack it all up, and you look at that number and think, okay, well, that number comes out to be, I don't know, let's make it a 45 or 50 bucks. Nice, easy round number, $50 a month. But how do I actually make money on that? How do I factor in my employees' time? How do I factor in how many tickets they're actually closing? Well, this is where things get a little confusing, because you know that you have to make at least $50 per computer to cover your no matter what costs, right? We'll call this overhead. But what about the other stuff? How do you actually put some profit in your pocket? Well, there's this interesting kind of equation that you have to think about, right? You want to make at least 50 because you got to cover your cost. You got to make some kind of profit to cover your labor, to make some extra money on there, and to put some money in your own pocket, as well as paying for your employees. Now, we've all probably heard the term, well, you got to charge enough to make a living, or you're not charging enough, or you're probably not charging enough. And that's because people don't actually know their numbers. That's the hard part about it, is knowing your numbers. We can all make an Excel sheet and we know how much that's actually going to cost, but a lot of us, we don't actually know what those numbers actually look like. Now, a good rule of thumb is you have to have all those softwares right off the bat. But you also need to know that your technician, depending on what stage of the process you're in or how big of an MSP you are, technicians are typically going to work on every computer about 2 to 4 hours per month. Seems to be the going rate, and what my experience has been per computer. So if you have 10 computers, figure that a technician is going to be working between 20 and 40 hours per month on those 10 computers. Now, over time, and as things get better and better, that number is going to come down month after month after month. But that's just a good ballpark. Everybody's case is completely different. And on top of that, you have variable costs where you might be backing up more and more storage. What does that actually look like for the business, and how do you actually bill that? So we're going to jump in here, and I just want to show you the quick little calculator, but these are all variables that you have to go through. And then on top of that, you're at bat and you're ready to make your pitch and you're ready to close this deal. Well, maybe it's 50 computers. Do you need to offer a discount to get the deal? Now, I'm not a huge fan of discounting, but in some cases, to get the deal done, you might have to have a little bit of wiggle room. And that's why having your costs and having a calculator really comes into play. It really allows you to thrive and succeed when push comes to shove. But on top of that, there's also costs that we don't factor in. Not only do we have all of our softwares to do the job, but we have softwares that help us run the business. We have QuickBooks, we have Xero. We might even have to go hire other people or an accounting firm of that sort, so that way we're paying people appropriately, but also money isn't just leaking out of the cracks of the business. These are all really, really big factors to take into consideration. So I'm going to just do a quick little overview of this calculator. Like I said, if you really want the full in-depth guide of how MSPs are really messing up their pricing, or you want to play with this calculator so you can get your numbers dialed in, there will be a link down below. You're going to just go through the masterclass. It'll be right there. It'll be, hey, put in your information, you'll get the calculator, and then on top of that, not only will you get the calculator, you'll also get the training that comes with it. Because I want to teach you how to become insanely profitable, because this is easily the number one killer of MSPs. So we have the MSP Simple Pricing Calculator. Now, we already have a significantly more advanced one, but that is for another day. But this is really to get your numbers kind of dialed in. So we've built an entire program here that you can go through. Yes, it's through Google, and that's how it was built, so it's nice and easy to share for everybody. But we have the MSP Pricing Calculator. Now, there's two areas here that we have to think about. We have one-time services, which is going to be those one-offs, that new computer setup, computer tune-up, install setup, whatever it might be. But we also have those monthly fixed costs that seem to just eat away at our revenue, and we have to make sure that that is dialed in. Now, spoiler alert before I get into this is, before I go any further, you have to know your numbers. So before you dive into this pricing calculator, I want you to hit pause right here or watch the rest of the video, but you have to go out and actually write down your numbers. Go through, and I just dropped my piece of paper here, but you want to go through and you want to start tallying up and writing down all of your subscriptions, whether that's in Google Sheets, somewhere, and how much you're paying every single month. Because without that knowledge beforehand, this calculator is not going to give you the most accurate information. In the data world, it's garbage in, garbage out, gold in, diamonds out. The better information you can get in the beginning, the better information you're going to get out, which is going to help you make more money. But we have in here, and there's some fancy stuff that we've built in, but you could go through and you can modify and see, okay, so server support, maybe you charge $200 a month. Is it per PC or per user? How many is there actually in here? Is it one? Okay, great. So per service, we have one. So $200 on a monthly basis. Are we setting up a config? Are we doing patching? How much is that actually going to cost? Are we doing per PC or per user? Is it per service? And what is the number of those? Now, rule of thumb with this calculator, do not touch the orange boxes. The orange boxes are the no-no zones. We don't mess with those. And we even left open some areas here for your additional services that you could go through, and maybe we don't have it here, which I'm sure we probably don't, because there's hundreds of softwares out there that are fantastic for MSPs. But you could start to go through here and say, you know what? I want to offer cloud services. Maybe cloud services are $25, right? And we have per service, right? We're going to just call it, I don't know, maybe 10. It now knows that 25 times 10 is 250, and this is going to be your monthly bill. But one thing that you have to think about is, while this is good and you can see how much that actually costs, and you're going to be able to see your pricing, you're then going to be able to take it one step further and begin to say, hey, I need to know how many this is actually going to happen. We have some cool stuff down here where we have number of PCs and number of users. And it says the above two fields are for the as is state of business you are quoting for. It then creates a ratio of the number of users and PCs so you can see what it may look like for your scenario. But that's really the key secret sauce in here. And then maybe some money, how you want to run it, and good general rules of thumb based on your profitability. But this tool helps you just see, okay, well, great. I have this much, and we're charging per PC, we're charging per user. It grabs these numbers and builds you that algorithm. Additionally, we also have that one-time services, and having these and thinking about, okay, well, what are we actually doing? How are we actually doing it? How do I actually come up with the numbers? Because most MSPs, surprise, surprise, don't even know if they're going to charge per person or per computer. Sometimes businesses have way more people, and sometimes they have way more computers. Well, just because they have way more computers and way less people, you still got to put the basics on those computers. This calculator helps you figure out what those actual numbers are. So when a customer says, how much is this going to cost me? You can go back to your office and you're going to have your plans and you're going to be able to adjust this for your plans. And sometimes you're going to have different parts in your plans where, industry specific programs. Maybe you're a reseller for that. Help desk support, what it's going to cost on average per company. Maybe it's $10, $20 per user or $50 per user. On-site support, remote 24/7, break fix, anything like that that you can have in here that you might include on a monthly bill. You can then see, okay, great. Some people might be over the moon to have $25 per charge at a rate of 10 per service. And you can even write in here per user. We could write in yes, and it'll automatically calculate that into the final number. This is the magic of having a really high quality calculator that you can use. Like I said, there is a link down below. It will be a masterclass. You're going to get it and you're going to get the full training on it. But that's the best part about it is there's no more guessing. There's no more, well, I could do this. No, you can see directly your hard costs associated with it and how much money you could be making, both on a monthly basis and on a one-time service, because it's just simply an algorithm. But you have to really know in order to succeed. So that's why we built this whole thing for you. I wanted to build a tool that people are going to go absolutely crazy for, because it really brings you and brings to light how much money things cost, how much money you can actually make, and even if you had to budge, what would that actually look like with a 50, 75, maybe even 100% margin? That way you can put more of this in your pocket, because in all reality, we all go into business to make money. We don't do it for charity. If we were going to do that, we would all start a non-for-profit. So having that, removing the fear of I'm not charging enough, is key and why we built this tool. I encourage you to go download it. It's not that complicated to use. If you don't go through the training with it, associated with it, that's totally up to you. But go through, figure out your fixed costs. Maybe there is no server, right? Maybe there's no server. Maybe it is $25 per user. Maybe you have Google Workspace and maybe that's $20 per. You can then tweak and modify it. And you have to say, hey, is this going to be as a per PC? We can write yes, and then boom, you get the number of, right? And maybe we're going to fire off and it's kind of foolproof where, hey, it knows that you've put in one or the other. So it's not going to say, yeah, we're going to do $20 per computer, per PC, and per user. That wouldn't make sense. We really wanted to make sure that it was a foolproof design to make your life tremendously easy, and how much those numbers actually look like, what your reoccurring revenue is going to be, and how many PCs it could actually be time and time and time again. So I encourage you to figure out your pricing. And like I said, go build out that Excel sheet, figure out what your costs are, and then work forward, because you never want to be up at bat for a deal and say, I don't know if this is actually going to make me money. You can see this in advance and know and rest easy saying, you know what? These numbers work out well for me, and I've included my labor in here. I know I'm going to be able to kill it with this deal. And if I do have to wiggle a little bit to get the deal done, you can do that. That's the best part. So I encourage you, really take your pricing seriously. And this is just a simple pricing calculator. You can price per user, you could price per PC, you could do value-based pricing and the value that you actually provide. There's 3 tiers of it, and whatever works for you. I'm going to be covering that in a future video. If you've made it this far, you're going to want to hit the like button. You're going to want to hit the subscribe button, little notification bell. I love the heck out of you guys. I appreciate you, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Love you guys.